Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and after a not so predictable night in the fast lane on the road to WrestleMania, it's time to see what all the fallout was on Monday Night Raw and decide how good each segment was. And you know the way to do that, it's by assigning each one a lovely individual grade. That's right, this is Monday Night Raw Graded. So we start things off with the Shield. Those handsome Shield boys come out and hit the ring, and Roman takes the microphone and says, you know what, if last night really was the last ride of the Shield, I have no regrets. It was brilliant. I had a bloody lovely time. He then alludes to Ambrose leaving, and honestly, I can't work out whether this is a work or a shoot anymore, or whether Ambrose is leaving or isn't, or was going to and has been convinced otherwise, or anything that's going on. But Roman basically alludes to it. Ambrose doesn't say anything. I don't think he gets on the mic for this whole segment, and then Roman goes, but you know who's got the real business right now? Seth Rollins, because he's going to fight a big large man at WrestleMania, lads. There is a huge Slay the Beast chant as Dean and Roman leave the ring, leaving Rollins alone there. He starts to cut a promo, but then he's interrupted by Paul Heyman, and the pair have an argument over who's going to win at WrestleMania. But it's a really good one. It's a really well-written segment, better than usual, definitely better than usual, where basically Rollins says, you know what, Lesnar has absolutely destroyed Braun Strowman, he beat Goldberg for the title back at WrestleMania, or he says something, he cites another large person that Lesnar's beat, but then he goes, you know who he had a problem with? AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Daniel Bryan, smaller guys, and I was like, yeah, that's right. Let's try and forget the fact that those three are probably about 5'8" and Seth Rollins is about 6'3". Let's ignore that, because Rollins is, in terms of WWE, big men, little men, he is a smaller guy, a slender man, if you will. Heyman then says, nah, but you know what? Brock's had more time to prepare for you than he did for any of those three guys. And I'm like, logic's being used. This is amazing. Logic, not just on SmackDown, not on NXT, on Monday Night Raw. Have all my dreams come true. Then Heyman throws to a video package, thereby proving that my dreams have not come true. But then when we return, on the whole, I think it was a pretty good segment. This gets an A-, capped off by the wonderful image at the end of Shelton Benjamin running in the ring and giving Seth a huge German suplex. And basically, it all links back to the fact that Heyman is Lesnar's client. Lesnar and Shelton used to be roommates. They've both got incredible amateur wrestling credentials. I think that Shelton may have been one of Lesnar's coaches back in the day at college. It all links together. It all makes wonderful sense, and I love it. I absolutely love this for an opening segment. Great stuff. Now we get to the match proper. Seth Rollins versus Shelton Benjamin in progress as we return from commercial. And in the previous segment, the thing that prevented it from getting just a flat out A was the fact that Heyman threw to a video package and it kind of took me out the moment. But in this segment, Heyman added to the experience for me because he was on guest commentary. It had me yearning for the days of when Heyman used to be a color commentator alongside JR around the time of the invasion. Those were wonderful, wonderful times in terms of commentary. The two wrestlers work a pretty basic and short match, but they do have good chemistry, and that's apparent. And as I mentioned, Heyman just added to everything on guest commentary. He took a phone call at one point, wonderfully obnoxious. He announced that Brock's going to be on Raw next week, and then he left because he's really arrogant and he doesn't need to stick around for the end of the match. He's Paul Heyman. The match ends when Shelton goes for the F5. It looked like he was going to use Lesnar's finisher, but Rollins escaped, hit the stomp, and picked up the straightforward and the simple victory. Like, it was the right idea to have Seth go over here, absolutely. You know what, this gets a B+. The match itself was decent, the booking was spot on, and Heyman on guest commentary was awesome. Strong start to Raw from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Next up, as Rollins is leaving the ring, Finn Balor's music hits. It's time for his match now. The pair of them cross on the ramp and shake hands because they're both good babyface lads. And I like little moments like that, little moments that help the show link together. We see them sometimes, often it works, sometimes it doesn't quite work. This one worked because they're handsome. And because it was well written as well, not just because they're handsome, because it was well written. Balor's opponent is Bobby Lashley, the former IC champion, with the title on the line right now. They have a pretty straightforward match as well, with a very different ending. Finn Balor looks to have the better of Lashley. He heads up for the coup de grace. Ding, ding, ding. Who's ringing the bell? Not the timekeeper, so the match is still going on. It's actually Leo Rush in a hoodie. He gets on the apron, Balor kicks him off, but he's been totally distracted, springboards off the top rope back into the ring, and Lashley's there to drill him with a spear and become the new IC champion. He's got the belt back. Oh, didn't see this coming. This unfortunately gets a C-. The match itself wasn't as bad as a C- implies. It was actually pretty decent. But the whole reason that it gets a bit of a weak grade is because I just don't enjoy the booking. This feels like one of those feuds that's again been written in the wrong order or is being rewritten week after week after week. Because what's the point of Leo Rush costing Bobby Lashley a match quite recently and Lashley turning on him for them just to become friends again magically the very next night, and then it leads to this match where Leo has helped him regain the IC championship, and they were properly celebrating in the ring afterwards as well, like high-fiving and stuff. On commentary, Graves was saying like, if you join up with Leo Rush, good things happen, you're going to win the gold, and I was like, well, this is confusing. And it seems like momentum's been reversed for no reason at all, so I didn't particularly enjoy this one. Next up, Ronda Rousey's here to call all of us a bitch. We're all little bitches. That's right, Ronda's angry. She explains why she cost Charlotte the match at Fastlane, allowing Becky to be in the main event of WrestleMania. It's because she knows she's out of both of their leagues, and she wants to run through both of them and embarrass everyone at WrestleMania, which I think is fair enough character motivation. This storyline, though, is beyond the point of me trying to work it out. I think they might be trying to simplify it now down the home stretch, but too much has gone on beforehand for me to give this a total pass. But it was still okay. But who's here to defend the business of pro wrestling? That's right, none other than Dana Brooke, who comes out and cuts a promo on her way down to the ring saying she loves WWE. She might not be given all the opportunities that she feels she deserves, but she fights for each and every one, and she's here to... Dana's a babyface again, by the way. She's been turning so many times recently that I just can't work out what's going on. She's like the Big Show. Actually, no, she's not like the Big Show, because the Big Show's turns make sense in storyline. They just happen very frequently. Dana is just heel one week and babyface. But regardless, anyway, she gets in the ring and Ronda just boots her down, beats her up a lot. Some refs come in to break it up, and she slaps one of them in the face, right in the face. He bumps for it as well, it's great, and she walks off. Mixed feelings on this. I'm going to give this a C- because I think in theory this was a decent plan, but in execution it didn't come off quite as how WWE may have wanted it to. So I'll explain. Basically, in theory, I enjoy the idea of a lower roster member like Dana Brooke coming out and going, look, I'm going to stand up for you. Makes it look like Ronda's annoyed every single member of the women's division, and even those lower on the pecking order are going to come out and stand in opposition to her. Makes it look like a monster heel. That's a really good booking idea, and I really do like it. But in execution, I don't think either women's promo was particularly the strongest. Dana in particular had some cringy moments. She couldn't really control the volume of her voice, and it was just all a bit strange. Yeah, C- sounds a bit harsh, but I do feel like it came across quite cringeworthy, but I've got to applaud both the wrestlers and the writing team for their efforts in this segment, because it was a good idea. It just didn't quite come off. Next up, Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. Sort of a rematch of the night before, but not quite because the Revival weren't involved. This match was really short, actually. They crammed a lot of stuff in, and it was exciting for the sort of 3 or 4 minutes that it lasted, but at the same time, you can't really do that much. You can't have that good of a match in such a short slot. They still did really well, though, everyone did, and the right team won, Ricochet and Aleister Black picking up another victory, and I think this time they got the pinfall on Bobby Roode, so Gable isn't quite being as buried as heavily as we all feared. Maybe. We don't know. Maybe. He is still slightly. Then the Revival lay out the baby faces afterwards, and they're standing tall, and they're the tag team champions still, and it looks as though this is building towards WrestleMania. Now, I'm going to give this a B- because it was a good match, the action was good, but 2 big factors dragging it down a little bit. 1, very, very short, as I mentioned, and 2, the crowd were really dead for this, and it was a big shame. Really quiet. Don't be turning into Lafayette now, Pittsburgh. Come on. Steeler Nation and all that sort of stuff. Black and yellow, black and yellow. I know about American cities, sort of. Next up, it's time for a moment of bliss with, obviously, Alexa Bliss. She comes out and runs down some WrestleMania hosts of the past. Why could she be doing that, I wonder? As she goes, we've had some great WrestleMania hosts over the past few years, such as Kim Kardashian. Everyone goes, boo! Such as The Rock. Everyone goes, yay! And then she goes, obviously, we also had The New Day. And everyone goes, this was weird, actually. Everyone goes, boo, yeah, boo. I was like, what? I thought they'd get a big cheer. Why are people booing the new... What's going on there? Alexa then announces that she will be the host of this year's WrestleMania. And to be honest, right, I know that we like seeing wrestlers be allowed to wrestle in the ring, but I do think this is a good choice. I was pleased when The New Day got this spot at WrestleMania 33, as much as I'd like to have seen them wrestle on the card, because they're charismatic and they bring a lot to these little segments that make up like the minutiae of WrestleMania. And I think Alexa's probably in the same ballpark. She's really, really charismatic too, and she can hopefully, if she's given the right sort of material to work with, hopefully enhance WrestleMania as an experience rather than act as a distraction. On the minus side, this segment, well, I'll get to the grade and then I'll explain. So this gets a B- because it was a good decision to have Alexa as the host of WrestleMania, I think, for now. And also at the same time, it was a well-delivered promo by Alexa, especially when she started to tear up and went, it's such an honor for you people to have me as your host, you're welcome. I was like, yes, Classic heel tactics from Alexa Bliss. Unfortunately, this really did get dragged down for me because it proved as a segment how copy and paste WWE are at the minute, specifically Raw, the way that Raw is ran and booked and produced. Basically, there were 2 chairs on the stage for a moment of bliss because, hey guys, look at the call sheet. This segment is a moment of bliss with Alexa. Let's get 2 chairs out there. Has she got a guest? No. Why do we need 2 chairs out there? Because it's a moment of bliss. Like, it doesn't feel like each show is its own organic episode. They do feel like carbon copies of each other sometimes, and that really did take me out of this moment, sadly. A moment of bliss. Next up, we had 3 sort of filler segments in a row. I've just stuck them all together. I'm going to assign them 1 grade just for the ease of this video and because they were all very short. The first one, Braun Strowman is backstage and that stooge from last night, or from Fastlane, the ginger one with the fade and the long hair on top. He's there again, looking really nervous. Great. He says, oh, Strowman, or Mr. Strowman, you've been given a gift. Strowman goes along, sees a convertible with a bow on top. It's a gift from Colin Jobst, the SNL guy, who we all got confused about, at least on this side of the pond. Strowman's like, oh, sweet, let's see how this card does. And then he just accidentally rips the door off because he's Strowman and he's too strong. And then he gets really cross because the car's flimsy and he trashes it some more. And I thought, that's really ungrateful, and it does make him look like a bit of a heel. And I also thought, oh no, something's going to happen at WrestleMania, and it's to Braun Strowman. He's the one getting tangled up with these celebrities. He was going to be Universal Champion. Next up, Elias comes out, gets on the mic, and sings a song about, well, insulting Pittsburgh, even though he defended it because it was his own hometown just the night before on pay-per-view. So I don't really understand why he did that, but I guess he's a heel, so people can boo him if they want to, and that's probably the aim. He gets cut off by No Way Jose, who comes out dressed as Naomi for some reason. Am I missing something? He's got the coloured hair, he's got similar sort of coloured gear to her, he's got the fluorescentness going on. He's really feeling the glow, and I don't know why or how this was allowed. Was he dressed as something else? Have I totally missed the point and it was just because the gear looked similar to Naomi's? I honestly don't know what's going on here. But Elias attacked him anyway, hit Drift away on the ramp. And that's your fault, Jose, for interrupting the segment. And you're never going to get a real storyline, I'm sorry. And finally, we get a Lacey bomb from Lacey Evans, who comes out and opens her fan next to Renee's face, and Renee's all cross. And then she goes away. This whole thing gets an E. It didn't do anything for me, in the slightest at all. Next up, we get Nia Jax versus Natalya, building off the story from Fastlane, but with Beth Phoenix and Tamina at ringside, and it takes literally about 10-20 seconds for everything to break down and the match to get thrown out, which, to be fair, is alright. I don't think anyone was really up for seeing Natalya versus Nia at this stage, especially not, you know, after that sort of lackluster Nia match at the last pay-per-view. So I can totally see why they did this. It was fine, the beatdown was fine, the segment was fine. Beth Phoenix actually cleared the ring, it wasn't a beatdown, the babyfaces stood tall. And then when Nia and Tamina got backstage through Gorilla, they got jumped by the women's tag team champions Sasha and Bayley as revenge for the beatdown they suffered at Fastlane. All makes sense, but it wasn't the most thrilling segment in the world, really. So it gets a C-. Also, I'm getting quite anxious because are we going to get Bayley and Sasha versus Io Shirai and Kairi Sane at Mania, please? Or at any point, please give us this. Please, please, please. Please just give us that match. That's the one we want to see. Not, I love Beth Phoenix, but not her, Natalya. Not Nia and Tamina. The Sky Pirates is what we want. Next up, a promo battle between Triple H and Batista. Triple H is real and raw and a man, so he comes out in a leather jacket. Batista is all Hollywood now, so he comes out with a personal security force of local talent and a silk suit jacket. Ooh, silky. I'm not sure if it was silk, but it's shiny and silky and sexy. They have a bit of back and forth, it's very intense. Luckily, they've dropped most of the whole "this is real, the rest of the show is kayfabe" stuff, which is a good idea. Triple H at one point does call the security team guardians of the independent scene, which is exactly the sort of line that Triple H would say if he was as bad as the internet thought he was. So he's kind of embracing the worst parts of himself. This was like Triple H from sort of 15 years ago, almost. But, you know, Still fine. It was a funny line, to be fair. If it sort of breaks, if it oversteps the mark a little bit, it's alright because it's fine. It was funny. Batista wants a match at WrestleMania and says he'll hurt Triple H's loved ones if he doesn't give him it. But Triple H is like, you know what, I want a match as well. That's sound, let's do it. Batista's like, great, because I want to be able to end my career on my own terms and I want to be able to end your career on my own terms as well. And Triple H goes, that's fine, pal. It's no DQ. Yes, come on. I'm going to give this segment a B+. It was intense. Triple H told a funny joke, which seems like it shouldn't work together, but it sort of did. Yeah, the segment was totally fine, and the decision to make their match a no DQ one is a big relief for me. I was worried they were going to do a singles match where the no DQ stipulation suits those guys at this stage of their lives so much better. Also, I think the match can only go one of two ways. It can either be really silly and fun and awesome, or it's going to be slow and methodical and Triple H hunting for vengeance. And I really hope that it's the first of those two examples, because otherwise I'm not going to be a big fan of it at all, really. But I do have faith, and this segment, obviously, as I've said, gets a B+. Next up, Kurt Angle, the hometown boy, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania's own. Kurt Angle comes out, briefly recaps his amateur and professional wrestling career, and then mentions that he's going to have his last ever match and retire at WrestleMania 35. Massive announcement for Kurt. Everyone was very emotional. Everyone was like, thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Kurt. It was great to see. Then he said, tonight, I'm going to have my last match in Pittsburgh. Then Apollo Crews came out to the ring and Angle beat him in a short match. And normally I'd be a bit sad that the younger talent got beaten so decisively, but it was Kurt's last match in Pittsburgh, and I don't begrudge the speediness of his victory at all. I think that was a fair decision. This segment on the whole gets another B+. Who is his opponent going to be, though? He didn't mention who it's going to be at WrestleMania. Will it be John Cena, bringing it back to where it all began again with the Ruthless Aggression era? Could it be someone else, like maybe Samoa Joe? Although if he's still US champion at the time, I don't think it makes sense for Angle to go for a title in, admittedly, his last match ever. So Cena is probably my top candidate, but he could also put over a younger talent too. Chad Gable would be perfect, but he's really not anywhere near Kurt Angle in terms of storylines at the minute, which is sad. Next up, Roman Reigns comes out. I think it was for a match against Baron Corbin, but it doesn't happen because he's jumped during his entrance by Drew McIntyre, who just beats the hell out of Roman Reigns. Multiple claymores, running his head into the ring post, that sort of thing. Very head-based attack. Careful now. And then the Shield came out to check, or Rollins came out to check on Roman and was like, come on, we need to get you checked, come on. They got backstage, there was Dean. They both ushered Roman towards the trainer's room and went, come on, man, come and get checked out. So Roman didn't really want to, but he thought it was sensible and was like, yeah, I probably should. Which is good, because it still made him look like he wanted to fight, but he understood the health risks, so fair play. Is this the match at WrestleMania? Drew versus Roman. Ooh. But the segment wasn't over yet. On his way back from the trainer's room, Ambrose bumps into Triple H and goes, I want Drew McIntyre right now, no DQ, falls count anywhere, let's do it. Triple H is like, you've got it, off you go. They go out to the ring and they have that match. They're brawling in the stands, they're brawling in the concession bit around the back during commercials, they're brawling on the announce table. It's a fun match, but it's very kind of house showy as well. It's not the best match ever, but it is a spectacle to end Monday Night Raw, I guess. Drew picks up the victory, wedging Ambrose's head in like a railing next to some stairs and just claymoring his head off. Brilliant stuff, great finish. Picks up the pinfall, Ambrose loses yet another match, but you know, Drew wins a match, which is really important at this stage, especially if he's going to be facing Roman at WrestleMania. So the main event of Monday Night Raw this week gets a B. It wasn't like amazing or anything, but it was certainly fun. I just don't know if I agree with the decision to have Roman versus Drew, if that's where they're going, at WrestleMania. Mainly because Roman has to win that match. Obviously, I'd book Roman to win that match if I was presented with the choice of the winner, but I wouldn't have his opponent be Drew in that case, because I think Drew needs a big win at WrestleMania as well, or at least deserves one. He doesn't deserve to be stuck in this weird mishmash heel team with Lashley and Corbin. He deserves to be a singles heel on his own, because he can cut a great promo on his own anyway, and I think that he deserves a title run, or a title shot at the very least. Maybe that's one for SummerSlam, maybe that's one for further down the line, but at the moment, I can't see anyone apart from Roman winning that WrestleMania match. So, in hindsight, I'm going to give this Raw a B. It was fun in parts, it was a little bit weak in parts as well, but it was also entertaining in parts too. It wasn't the most seismic Raw ever, but it was a bit of a steadying the ship Raw, I'm going to call it, as we come out of like the seismic events of Fastlane and onto the final stretch towards WrestleMania. This did sort of steady the ship, and I appreciate that from WWE. So a B grade it is for Raw from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and thank you for watching. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.